things that a fragile narcissist is constantly looking out for. The fragile narcissist is constantly seeking that validation and that fuel to validate their reality, to feed their ego. Unlike the grandiose counterparts, they possess a delicately constructed self-image that requires constant maintenance and reinforcement to validate their perception of reality. So a few things that they look out for, and one of the first is they look out for things to be offended by. It's effortless in life to be offended. There are so many things we can be offended by. The fragile narcissist is on the lookout for things that they can be offended by. They have a strong desire to be constantly perceived as the victim. So they seek situations where they can be offended to gain that compassion from others, to relish in their sympathetic attention. Rejection and abandonment. Narcissistic people tend to fear rejection and abandonment. Non-narcissistic people can fear these things. With a fragile narcissist, they are constantly on watch for those who could abandon and reject them, so that they can reject and abandon first, so that they can discard in some of the cruelest ways. They have a strong desire to belittle others and criticize others and pull everybody else down, so that people don't feel worthy, so that people feel like they can't do any better. They are on the lookout for things that they can be resentful for. They are some of the most envious people you could ever meet, and this envy harbours that intense resentment. They're also some of the most self-entitled people that you could ever meet. So they are hypersensitive to any perceived threat, such as rejection or abandonment. Their sense of entitlement means they are resentful of others that have something that they do not have. Their sense of entitlement creates a strong desire for them to dominate and control others. They are constantly on watch for things that they can be highly critical of, constantly seeking that validation. They habitually scrutinize others, highlighting others' perceived faults, flaws, mistakes, wrongdoings, deficiencies. They subject other people to relentless criticism, pulling other people down to feel better about themselves. They want to compare themselves to others, but in a manner that makes the other person look bad. So they constantly look for things that they can be critical of in others. Excuses. Narcissistic people utilize excuses to get away with their behaviour, to avoid taking responsibility, to avoid being held accountable, to avoid any consequences for their actions. So if they can shift the blame, if they can find somebody else to blame, they will, which is another thing they could look out for, is somebody else to blame for their behaviour. Justifications is another one. Again, similar to those excuses, they look to rationalise away their misdeeds, to maintain their sense of entitlement, and to avoid facing their own deficiencies, avoid facing any consequences for their actions. Supply. They are constantly looking, constantly seeking supply, constantly seeking and craving that external validation to sustain their fragile self-esteem. They want people to desire them. They want to feel appreciated. They want to feel like they matter, which we can all enjoy feeling. However, narcissistic people manipulate people to the extremes to get this, as without a steady supply of validation, the fragile narcissist faces that emotional collapse.